All right. So, good evening, everyone. I'm Molly, and I'll be conducting today's daily debate. Our motion for today is cancel culture a necessary form of social accountability, or is it a threat to free speech? This is a timely and thought-provoking topic, touching on the balance between holding people accountable for their actions and protecting freedom of expression. We'll dive into whether cancel culture promotes social responsibility or stifles open dialogue. And here's a quick rundown on the structure. Each speaker will have 3 minutes for their opening statements to present their stance clearly. And after each opening, the opposing side will have 2 minutes for rebuttals. We'll follow this with a short round of clarifying questions and follow ups. And finally, if time permits, each speaker will have 1 minute for closing statements. I encourage both of you all to engage respectfully and remember that this debate is all about exploring both sides of the argument. And at the end, I'll provide some constructive feedback on how debate unfolded. So let's keep it insightful and respectful. With that said, let's get started. We'll have the or first. So Taha, you can start.
Yeah,
All
Yes,
we
right.
would have some
So,
preparation time, right?
I
Because
can.
I just assigned my room.
Okay, so all right,
Can I just get like 5 minutes?
I'll give you all 5 minutes to prepare.
all right.
Taha, you can also have 5 more.
Sir, so there would be 3 minutes of speeches, right? Opening
Three
statements.
minutes for opening speeches, 2 minutes for rebuttals, and then we'll have like an open clarifying question round, follow-up round. And if time permits, then we'll have 1 minute of closing statement.
Would that be possible if we just have only speeches, first opening statements, and then 2 minutes of rebuttal speeches, and then we just end up as time is not gonna be there if we look at it.
Okay, we'll figure it out. Hi, Kimani, are you there?
Hello.
Am I pronouncing your name right? It's Kimani, right?
Yes, yes, you are.
Okay, so will you be participating in the debate?
Um, no, as a certain I look, I view.
Uh, this meeting is being recorded, so
That's fine.
all right, you can just spectate. That's fine. Guys, can we begin now?
Yeah, we can begin.
I'm waiting for Pranad. Since Pranad.
There's just more 1 minute. Just 1 minute.
All right, no worries.
Sir, I'll just be back in a minute, okay? I'll just be back in a minute.
All right.
By the way, I'm just saying that I'm ready to be both for and against the motion, and I have prepared for both. So, whatever the next person is going to, like, whatever Pranad or anyone else is going to be choosing, I can go against or for.
That's great, Taha. But since Pranad joined, he agreed late to join in the debate. We'll just wait for 2 more minutes when since he's decided to go first. We'll just wait for
Yeah,
2 more.
okay.
Yeah, I'm back. Hello.
Okay, so can we begin now?
Yeah.
All right. So it'll be great if you switch on your cameras. And we'll begin with Pranad, the proposition.
Wait, what?
You are in proposition, right? You're
I'm
going.
in against, right?
Oh, right. Sorry, my bad.
Yeah.
So Taha is going for the topic, proposition.
Yeah.
All right. So we'll
Okay,
begin
so
with
should
Taha.
I start?
Do you want me to
Should
give
I
you a
start?
countdown, or are you giving yourself first?
All right. So, okay, I'll just do the countdown. Okay. Three, two, one, go. Okay. So, cancel culture is a cultural phenomenon in which an individual thought to have acted or spoken in an unacceptable manner is ostracized, boycotted, shunned, or fired, often aided by social media. This often is a modern form of accountability. Basically, it allows for a minority of people who are often not able to represent themselves. They are often able to speak up against people uh, who have given unacceptable views. And often these these are often used against celebrities or high value people, and often institutions such as governments, legal institutions often fail where the public pressure often works, such as many abusers or corrupt figures are often protected by wealth, contracts, or closed door systems. So cancel culture allows for us to be vocal about their you know their atrocities. Also, free speech does not mean freedom from consequences. Basically, you can say what you want, but you cannot avoid the consequences of what you say. So, but like being criticized, being isn't being silenced. You do have the right to speak, but it's often you know you are allowed to come back. And without social consequences, also, there isn't social progress. Because if you do not fight those who wrong people, who support the injustice, we cannot grow as a community. And these things are often temporary, as we do not permanently cancel, we do not permanently isolate, we do not permanently exclude someone. We only criticize for what they said, and we allow for them to grow. We allow for the community and the culture to grow alongside us. That's all.
Okay. You still had 45 seconds left. Now, Pranad,
Sir, what is the time limit for speeches?
opening speech is for 3 minutes. The rebuttals will be for 2 minutes.
Am I audible and visible? Yes, hello.
Yes, you are.
Yeah, you're
Yeah.
audible and visible.
I'll start on my self count of three, two, one. Chair, they say cancel culture is justice. I say it's more but justice with Wi-Fi. So, ma'am, let's be clear from beginning. I stand firmly against this idea that cancel culture is some noble tool of accountability because in reality, it's a digital witch hunt just without firewood. Let's start with Article 19 of UDHR. It clearly states, and I quote, everyone has the right to freedom of opinion and expression. That includes the freedom to say something that may offend someone. Offense is subjective, but freedom is not. It's a right. Ma'am, cancel culture pretends to be justice, but it behaves like revenge. Look at what happened to J.K. Rowling. A woman who spoke her opinion without hate, without incitement, was publicly harassed, boycotted, and even received death threats. Is that accountability? My opponents are so proudly defending. Let's talk about facts. According to Harvard Caps Harris poll in 2021, 64% of Americans believe cancel culture threatens their freedom of speech. That includes liberals, conservatives, and independents. So, no, this isn't about left or right. It's about being silenced by the loudest voice in this room, not the most reasonable one. And what's worse, ma'am, cancel culture often gets it wrong. Take the case of Axie McCammond, a black female journalist who was forced to step down from her dream job at Teen Wag due to tweets she posted at the age of 17. She had already apologized, but the cancel crowd didn't care about growth or reform. They wanted a head on a spike and they got it. So tell me, where is the accountability for the people who cancelled her future over her past? Chair, if my opponents want to glorify the cancel culture as social justice, maybe they should explain the blunder of 2020 open letter published by Harper's Magazine. Over 150 writers and academics, including Noam Chomsky and J.K. Rowling, warned that cancel culture is destroying honest debate. But instead of debating them, they were, you guessed it right, cancelled for every daring to talk about it. The irony writes itself. Ma'am, freedom of speech is not freedom from consequences, but consequences should not mean a public execution on Twitter every time someone thinks differently. We need fair laws, ethical journalism, and open dialogue, not trial by hashtag. Let me close by quoting Barack Obama. The idea of purity and you have never compromised and you are always politically woke. You should get over that quickly. Chair, cancel culture is not justice. It's judgment without trial, punishment without proportionality, and noise without nuisance. And no matter how loudly the mob screams, the truth remains. Culture doesn't create accountability. It kills conservation. Thank you. Conversation. Sorry.
Very well. You had 10 seconds left. Um, Now, since both of y'all have completed your opening speeches, should we start with the rebuttals if you all are prepared? Or do you all need?
Definitely.
Can we just get a minute? I just need to.
All right. I'll give you all 2 minutes. Y'all can prepare and then we'll start again.
All right. Thank you.
Mobs silence marginalized voices the most because they can't afford to fight back on. Now, so cancel culture isn't about lifting minorities, it is eating its own. Now, their third point, legislation often fails, legal institutions often fail, so public pressure works. Ma'am, this is where I have to ask, are we replacing democracy with Instagram likes now? Yes, justice system needs reform, but you don't fix it by making Twitter the judge. Ask yourself, if public pressure is so wise, why did the cancel culture keep canceling the wrong people and letting real criminals walk free? Where was this public pressure when actual abusers in power weren't cancelled, but a comedian for a 5-year-old joke? And finally, they say, free speech doesn't mean freedom from consequences. I agree, but those consequences should come from laws and ethics, not angry mobs with Wi-Fi. Because if you remove the right to offend, you remove the right to speak. And when fear replaces freedom, no one speaks honestly, not even your so-called minorities. Chair, cancel culture isn't about fixing society. It's just filtering it through fear. It doesn't create justice. It creates silence. Thank you.
Could you please summarize your question in a few lines? Because I
I
again,
never
can you just?
wait.
It's a whole speech.
It
Uh,
Yeah,
can
it was a
can you?
speech.
This was the
You,
rebuttal
you
round. So it was a rebuttal speech. And you'll
It was
also
a
be,
okay,
rebuttal speech
yeah,
round.
okay,
now you
okay,
will be, you're supposed to give a rebuttal speech.
okay. Sorry, I thought it was a POS thing. Sorry.
No, so the follow-ups will be after this rebuttal round.
Okay, sorry. So that's the follow-ups. I thought this was like the question part where we give each other questions. Yeah, sorry. Can I just have a minute?
Okay, so
Right, sorry. Yeah, I'll just begin now. Okay, so uh, can I start?
yeah, do you need a self count or do I
I'll
need
do
to
a
begin?
self count.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Three, two, one, go. So, so the opposition, they claim that culture ruins lives. But the data tells a different story. A 2022 Vox analysis showed that most public figures who are cancelled face temporary backlash and often return to equal or greater popularity. Louis C.K. is selling out shows. Logan Paul is richer than ever. In contrast, the lives of victims of racism, sexism, abuse are silently every day until the silently ruined silently every day until the public speaks up. Cancel culture gives those people a voice. Uh, and the opposition, they call it a mob justice, a trial on Twitter, but they ignore the reason it exists. Systems of formal justice do not often work. Harvey Weinstein's victims were often ignored for decades by the courts. It wasn't until the public outrage erupted and because of cancel culture, that he faced real consequences. If institutions won't act, that the public must. So that's not chaos. That's grassroots accountability. You also say that it suppresses free speech. It's actually speech responding speech. So uh, if you say something offensive, public has every right to respond. That's not censorship. It's conversation. It's criticism. It's democracy in action. In fact, the U.S. Supreme Court has ruled that social backlash isn't a First Amendment violation. So their argument doesn't even hold up legally. And the opposition says that the cancel culture is inconsistent, that not everyone gets cancelled equally. We agree uh, that, but that but that's an argument for better application and not abolition. Civil rights weren't perfectly applied either. Did we throw them out? Every movement is messy, but imperfection is not a reason to abandon progress. But in fact, it is a reason to develop and grow. In conclusion, The opposition paints cancel culture as cruel, chaotic, and unjust. Because for the victims of abuse, racism, and hate, cancel culture isn't cruelty. It's the first time they are heard. Cancel culture isn't about silencing, it's about listening. Thank you.
Well said. Now, since we have only 3 minutes remaining, we'll have the follow-ups in the next 3 minutes. And if you all want, I can give you all the feedback on chat, or I can have another meeting to give you all the feedback. However, you all want.
We can have maybe another meeting right after this one to do the feedback.
All right. So, Pranad, it's up to you if you want to join the next meeting.
Yeah, works. Yeah,
Yeah,
works. I'll
and you
join.
all can have your follow-up session starting now.
Uh, so who's going first?
It's an open discussion, so any one of you can go first.
No,
So
wait,
you,
now, right now, it's like what? Proposition, opposition, like propositions question, opposition question, again proposition question, and opposition question, right?
we
Because
can do it
I
that way.
believe, yeah, works.
So do you all need
Okay,
a minute to prepare? Or we can begin?
I prepared in the rebuttal time, actually.
Yeah, never mind. I believe we could start it right now.
Yeah, let's begin then.
All right, so I guess I'm starting. So basically, the question for the opposition. So if we do not hold the public figures accountable, then who should hold them accountable when legal systems fail? Like for the example, I gave an example for Harvey Winfrey, or yeah. So how will you hold them accountable if legal systems fail? And say, for example, Elon Musk. The government gives Elon Musk about $8 million a second
I
to
understood your
contracts.
question. May I answer
Yeah,
it?
yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm defending people right to learn, change, and speak. There's a reason even when why the UN Human Rights Office urges states to promote counter speech instead of censorship. Because without freedom to offend, there is no freedom to innovate, debate, or improve. And if you cancel every person's who ever made a mistake, or to be accountable, or to be held accountable, you will be left with, well, no one, including yourselves. Let's not pretend cancel crowd is more flawless. The hypocrisy is wild. Half of them scream accountability while hiding their own shady tweets from high school. And secondly, you can't give the power to just erase people. That's and when you say that when legal institutions fail, we just can't give power to the people, or to the people who are in Twitter, etc., or in Instagram. Instead, we should really focus upon like increasing the power of legal institutions, legislature, etc. Not giving power to like the people who are just screaming based on those hashtags or etc.
So what you are saying is that the people are uninformed about what is happening and they're just blindly following. But in fact, that is not always the case. In fact, there's a lot of people who are still on trial, corrupt people who should be on trial, yet they aren't. So if there is not a public backlash, in fact, I agree that people should not be following things blindly. But if there is no public backlash,
Done.
then there is no
That's
social
exactly my
accountability.
point. Done. Yes,
Yeah, so
you
then
agreed with me.
if there's no cancel culture, then there's no public accountability. Hence,
Why
people
do you
are
need wait, why do you need cancel culture? There is legislature system for public.
Okay, so you all can continue with your follow-ups. But
Yeah, I believe I already answered his question.
yeah, Taha, you are now agreeing on both sides. You're agreeing for and against both. You cannot be doing that. You
no,
need
no, no, no,
to.
no, no. No, you misinterpreted what I'm saying. I am saying that there shouldn't be blind, what do you say, backlash. But I'm saying that there should be cancel culture because there is no public accountability without cancel culture because, say,
How are
for
you saying there
example,
is no public accountability? There are legislature, there are what execu execution to hold people accountable. You don't need just a big crowd for holding people accountable, right? There
I
is a
think you're
certain level of
confusing.
power given to the government.
I think you're confusing public accountability with legal accountability. And yes, there is there is present legal accountabilities. But what do you say about the legal system which does not hear out people who are actually in distress? People like Harvey Winfrey, as mentioned in my previous speech, they were not allowed to be on courts. They were not heard out until there was public backlash. So what you're saying, and in your previous rebuttal, your follow-up answer also, you said that the people should not have the you know control over who to cancel. That is inherently undemocratic,
Yeah,
which
so
actually contradicts your.
basically, yeah. Okay, great sentiment, terrible execution. If cancel culture was actually helping the marginalized or helping their voices, etc., as you mentioned, explain why it cancelled a black female journalist, Alexei McCammond, over tweets she made as a teenager after she apologized. Also, she didn't get support. She got fired. Even worse, the people doing the canceling were mostly upper class Twitter users and brands desperate to look woke. That's not empowerment. That's corporate PR in disguise. And let's not forget the UN Special Rapporteur on freedom of expression warns about the chilling effect when people are afraid to speak. Who suffers most in silence? Marginalized voice. So your so-called justice silences them too. Not raises their
So what
voice. Sir, I also
so
have
what
some
you're
questions for
saying
the
is that,
opponent.
all right.
Okay, so
Yes.
let's like make this conversation both sided. So let Pranada also ask you questions.
Yeah, I have two questions. I'll start with my first. How do you decide who deserves to be cancelled? Who made you the judge, jury, and the executioner on what is acceptable speech? Isn't that the exact dictatorship the UN warns against?
Well, I think you're confusing what actually is. Basically, what is defined as what is acceptable and not acceptable is basically, like, say, for example, people are actively supporting Nazism, actively supporting hate towards a community for absolutely no reason. Say, for example, they were actively attacking your community for God knows what reason. And so you should just sit quietly and just not say anything. You should like just accept it.
I don't understand how Nazism comes into this play where it was just ended
No,
many years
basically,
ago.
basically it's people still support Nazism. People still support people right now. They are supporting the genocide in Gaza. Do you think that
Yeah.
is acceptable?
So if people are just supporting Nazism, should the government, should everyone in this world just support Nazism? Then, if the people are just supporting Nazism, the genocide in Gaza, etc., there are other factors too, which should be considered. And the fact which you are saying that people support Nazism, apart from that, there are other people too in this world who don't support Nazism, right? With a certain level of powers.
So with your argument, with your logic, that means that there are
Correct
people who
logic.
yeah, with your blindly people who do backlash, and then there are people who actually do not do blindly and are reasonable. Also, as you said, the black for the black person who was fired, you said that it was corporate and all those things. So there are corporates that do this, but then there are people who are actually holding people accountable. So is that not a good thing? Of course, there are imperfections, but does that mean the removal of public accountability, not legal about accountability, public accountability? Does that justify just the removal and abolishment of this? Basically, you cannot just abolish anyone. Basically, what I'm saying is
Yeah,
that
true.
there are people who do bad things. We cannot just allow them to do what they want. You also misinterpreted my argument. I'm
Okay,
saying that
okay, okay, yes.
people who support and actively engage in violence against the of particular people, how can they be allowed to do this? And even when the legal systems, they do not interfere, they do not do anything, as seen in many cases. What do you see the UN? What is the UN doing to help the people of Gaza? There doesn't seem to be much help going on. There is aid, but then that's being blocked. So what do you? So should there not be public outreach? So
Okay,
public
yeah, yeah.
outreach
So,
is.
so basically, you're telling that there should be public outrage. At last, what is public gonna do? Just bombard by Instagram post, Twitter post. Is it gonna help the people in Gaza? No, right? At last, you aren't spending your own money from your own pocket. The UN is spending. The countries which are helping, they are spending, not the people who are just posting reels that, oh my God, so many people died in Gaza, etc., etc. The government is spending, they, because they care and they know what is correct and what is wrong, not the people who are just posting reels, etc., right?
But then there
So you
not
need
be
to yeah,
awareness? Like
sorry.
people, should there not be awareness also about
There are
the,
news channels for awareness.
yet
You should watch news then, if you need some awareness.
historically, historically, the news has portrayed Israel, you could just as an example, it has portrayed people who are in power as favorably than more people who are being oppressed. How often do you actually see the people who are oppressed? Only recently, after the October 7th, is there being raised issues. So news outlets often are also biased, are bought off by governments and people.
Okay, Pranad, let's not get too much into the debate, like actually, but y'all are like on point and y'all are doing great. Would you like to continue this or do you want to stop?
I mean, I'm ready
i'm
to stop.
i'm I'm okay either way.
Because y'all are now diverging from the actual topic. Taha, your questions are getting too repetitive. Like it's too similar to what you've asked before.
Yeah, because I think the main agenda, it's the main essence of the entire support thing, na? Because that, that the whole agenda and essence is public accountability. Sometimes there are imperfections, and that's what I'm saying, that you shouldn't abolish it because of that. That's the entire essence of the
But then in
protest.
your speeches, you are, supporting both for and against the motion. And then maybe the way you are structuring your words is not proper then. But then you'll need to work on this because when we hear this, it sounds as if that you are supporting both for and against, with proposition and opposition. So it's difficult to answer your questions that way.
Okay, okay. So like with that in mind, like would you recommend how I should frame my thing? Because I'm trying to say that there are imperfections, but we shouldn't abolish it because of that. How do I make questions based like that, matlab, to not have this discrepancy?
How
Right.
are there perfections every time? How are there?
So
there
basically,
there
How
is
are there imperfections?
there are
Sorry,
both
please continue.
nothing,
imperfections.
nothing,
There is
chair. Move
there's
move with the feedback.
okay. So there's never complete perfection. Okay. However, in your let's start with the opposition's feedback. Uh, there were certain strengths I noticed, which is powerful analogies and quotes. You like said that comparing cancel culture to a digital witch hunt and quoting Barack Obama and adding rhetorical strength. But Pranad did that in his opening speech first, and then you mentioned legal and ethical grounding. You referred to Article 19 and Harper's Magazine letter showed a strong intellectual backing and all that, underscored hypocrisy and overreach and everything. All that is fine, but you haven't done your firm research for your own stance. It's like you were just giving him a question answer sort of thing. It was not like a very wholesome or a very insightful information from your stance for your stance. And where you could improve is in the solution gap. While the criticism of cancel culture was thorough, it was like throughout there, the opposition could have offered clearer alternatives, what should replace it, and how institutions regain trust. Then there should be emotional balance. While mocking the proposition's emotional fairy tale and might sound clever and all that, but it risked sounding dismissive of real sufferings, and tonal balance could be better. And also, there was some oversimplifications. Statements like cancel culture has zero evidence and 100% bias. They are rhetorically sharp, but overly absolute and could be challenged easily. Okay. Then, speaking for proposition, your strengths that you were morally clear. The argument that cancel culture helped those who are otherwise ignored, victims of racism, abuse, etc., was compelling and emotionally resonant. Then there was data support, the use of Vox 2022 analysis and legal references, the Supreme Court ruling. It gave weight to the position. And then there was a strong rebuttal from your side. Addressed the inconsistency argument by comparing it to the civil rights and which is very smart. And then the framing part, reframing cancel culture not as silencing but as speech responding to speech was effective. And where you could improve is in the balancing of emotion and logic. While emotional appeal was strong, more emphasis on how to improve cancel culture logically would have added more depth to it. And just like minor repetitions, certain phrases like often basically were repeated a lot of time, which weakens your polish and pace. So, and overall, like proposition made a strong case for cancel culture as necessary grassroots activism and a flawed but vital tool for accountability. And opposition powerfully framed cancel culture as fear-driven, unjust, and um, destructive to free speech and fairness. This like argument was insightful and well argued and intellectually honest debate. But let's try to be more, supportive to our own stats and not get diverged into like agreeing with both the stances. Otherwise, well debate. Very well.
Also, I was just hoping like to have a conversation, with private conversation, maybe afterwards, थोड़ा सा उसके बारे में. I had a few questions.
You could just
So
stop the recording.
yeah.